It's a sad day for chivalry, okay? Chivalry is dead, and women have killed it.
Part of writing Bereoesque was finding inspiration to write and staying in the writing mode, and also finding means to get the book published. It was a 3-year journey, and I learned so much in that journey, but there are often times you'd be up and I would write 10 pages and end up deleting them all because I was just writing for the sake of writing and there wasn't any true inspiration behind it. So I've gone through several pages that I would just end up throwing out and tossing out because they didn't have any true depth or emotion behind it. So I'd have to put myself in a position of solitude and pretty much not get in a position where inspiration wasn't forced, but it came naturally. So I found out what things inspired me, and I consistently place myself in those environments and in front of those people and do those things that would inspire me to write, so that I can come up with some great content. I want a young generation of readers especially to realize that having manners, being a gentleman, and having chivalry and conducting yourself in a positive light is actually not corny. It's not corny, and not only is it not corny, but it's something that's cool. We have a president, for example, to kind of demonstrate that you can be intelligent, you can have manners, you can love your woman, and you can still have this cool about you. So in the past, being a gentleman was somebody with bow ties and suspenders, and somebody who's stiff and they don't go out and they don't have fun. But I'm letting society see, especially a younger generation, see that being a gentleman is cool. And there's several examples of who a gentleman is and what a gentleman is in popular culture that you wouldn't necessarily look at and define as a gentleman. So I'm changing the face of gentleman, and I'm redefining what it is to be a gentleman and making the gentleman contemporary. Well, initially the title was The Contemporary Gentleman Etiquette Book for the Urban Sophisticate, but I would often use this word, and the word is Bereolaesque, and Bereola is my last name, so you put the two together. Bereolaesque is Bereola-like, and it wasn't a word that I intended on defining or using as a title, but it was something that I would use amongst a group of friends, and we'd be joking around, and we'd be going out that evening, and my friends would say, "We're going to an event, do you want to come along?" And I say, "Well, is this event Bereolaesque?" And it was an adjective that I would just constantly use. And they knew what I meant when I said, "Is this event Bereolaesque?" They assumed that, I'm asking, is this event, does it cater to my liking, or is it up to my standard? And they eventually adopted that word. It became a part of their own vernacular. And eventually a friend of mine asked me, she heard the word being passed around so much, and she said, "What does that mean?" So it forced me to come up with a definition. I thought about it, like, what does it mean, So I came up with a definition for the word, and that definition is highly appealing to the human senses or mind, providing pleasure or delight, especially in appearance or manner, pleasing, charming, alluring, attractive. And it was only fitting, and it kind of has a ring to it, and now it's at the point where the word is passed around frequently and used by many. Experiences in the book are definitely based upon my own life, and also based upon the lives around me, my surroundings, what I saw growing up, the interaction between my parents, my grandparents, things that I would see on TV and behavior I would see on TV that I didn't agree with. It's not an autobiography at all, it's an how-to guide, but if you read it, everything about the book is me. Oh yes, I definitely hear from my readers on a daily basis, on a hourly, minute by minute and second basis, via social networking, Twitter, Facebook, email. My readers are definitely engaged in the whole process, and they're all for the movement. You have people from Dan, who's a 45-year-old white male, to, you know, Susie, who's a 21-year-old girl entering college. Asians, blacks, Hispanics, you know, from 14 to 80 years old. My youngest reader is 10, and my oldest is 85. And it's interesting to see, you know, the feedback that you get from them, and they all have the same positive things to say. So it goes to show that this book definitely crosses demographics, it crosses color lines and age limits, and it's something that reaches the masses, and the masses is definitely responding. And for instance, I guess one of the emails that I received is how a gentleman, you know, he used to live in a society where, you know, women were degraded, and where it was popular to do that in an inner city neighborhood, and his peers were, you know, gangsters and thugs and such. But naturally, as all humans are, we're born into, you know, we're born into love, and we have the yearning for love and acceptance. And I believe that we're generally born good people, and we are influenced by our society, we're influenced by our culture, influenced by our surroundings. And that was the case with this gentleman. Born a good person and influenced by his society in a negative light. However, he had the yearning and the wanting to be good, but he didn't have an outlet for somebody to validate his wanting to be good, and an outlet for somebody to say, you know, this is okay, it's cool to be good, you know, you don't have to be doing this. There was no resource or nobody following that same principle or philosophy. So he said that my book provided an outlet for him to say, you know what, it's cool to be myself, it's okay to be myself, and it's something that I see it can be accepted to be myself. And that just goes to show kind of the power and the influence and the wording behind the book, and how it can allow people to be comfortable with who they are and be good, be, you know, positive in society, and you know, attain for better, and have that looked highly upon and not looked at as corny or not looked at as, you know, soft by his peers. Because what I'm doing in essence is making having manners cool, making having manners and, you know, practicing chivalry sexy. A good college friend of mine named Justin Huff, he's a very creative gentleman. He designed the cover, he's done the commercial ads for it, a lot of the marketing material. But the funny thing about the cover is it was actually an accident. It wasn't planned. You know, he has a rapid motion camera, so he was just shooting, you know, 100 pictures per, I don't know, minute or something. So it was constantly flashing, and as it's flashing, I'm adjusting myself and, you know, fixing things. So what happened, we were going for a specific shot, but I needed to fix my tie and, you know, kind of get fixed up. So as he's flashing, I'm looking down and I'm fixing my tie, and he caught the shot. And as I'm going through the photos, you know, I look at it and I stop on this shot. There happened to be an accident, but looked like a masterpiece. So I said, I think this is the shot. This looks good for the book. So we went with that shot, but it was a full body image of, you know, of me. And after further discussion, we decided to chop my head off. And that was an effort to suggest that being Bereolesque is universal, and it doesn't necessarily require, you know, a specific race or gender. So you look at the cover, you don't know, obviously you know I'm a man, but you don't necessarily know my ethnicity, my age, my background. So just kind of, it suggests this anonymity and allows for anybody to be Bereolesque.